repeat Tim's thanks very much to Eva and Tiffany from the Institute for their wonderful hospitality and for looking after us so well. And we are delighted to be here in this great company. So let's just really start with the title. We've been given quite a complicated title here, the Crowd Management Technologies and Systems to Ensure a Safe and Efficient Evacuation. Actually, what I think, I'm going to just change the title very slightly, because what I really want to talk about is how we avoid an evacuation. There is so many situations that I feel that by good planning, by good preparation, and in fact using a lot of the information that Tim's been talking about, we can make a lot of this not happen. Now, I think we'd best just go back to a little bit of basics. We're strangers here. We've been made very, very welcome, Tim and I. This is our first visit. And I just thought, look, this building here is my first time here. Experienced event people, event managers, venue owners. So I'm sure you would know, as you do every time you organize an event, every time you plan for an event, the first thing you check is on any building, what are the emergency procedures? So how many people here are fully familiar with the emergency procedures for this building here? So, well, if there's an alarm, is there a bell? Is there a siren? How many people know that? Okay. That's disappointing. I would have thought all you guys would have known that. But then that perhaps helps to illustrate what we're talking about here, about planning and being prepared and not taking anything for granted. So I would hope that we would know the escape routes. I would hope we would know the place where we are expected to meet if something happens in this building, so that Eva and her colleagues can account for everybody and say that everybody is safe. So something to think about, something to consider as we go through this presentation. And another couple of things going back to basics, really, because like Tim, I spend my life going around working at events, touring with rock and roll bands, making presentations to groups like this, and people say, JC, he's the crowd control guy who controls the crowd. Well, that's the first thing I need to really stop. I cannot control a crowd. I can't do it. If anyone has seen a crowd when they are in full flight, or if there's a riot, if there's a problem, people will ring, in this country, I think 999 is the emergency services number. You will call the police. They're not going to call me. They don't know me. So what we are looking for is a definition of what Tim and I actually do, and it's certainly not crowd control. Crowd control has been defined as a restriction of group behavior. Perhaps there's some disorder, some civil disturbance. The police are called. They will close roads. They will move barricades. They have enormous resources. They can send up helicopters. They have mounted horse officers. They have so many resources available to them that I don't have. I never have had that kind of resource. So I can't do any of this crowd control stuff. That's not what we do. What we're all about is planning, crowd management. Please, let's make sure we have a very clear definition between the two. So it's good old Fruin, that some of you may be aware, who's a very, very respected expert in crowds, wrote that it's the systematic planning for the supervision, orderly movement, and assembly and dispersal of people. So it's what we do in advance. That's a photograph. Tim mentioned the fact that he was invited to look after the Diamond Jubilee. I was also invited and appointed to look after crowd management and safety for the Golden Jubilee 10 years before. And that's a picture of a fantastic and successful event. But the planning for that started nearly 2 years before. We didn't just turn up on the day and there was 1.6 million people. There was a lot of planning involved, and I'm delighted to say that it was a wonderful and safe event. So I'll just put up a few headings really to suggest what we're talking about. So it's an evaluation of the occupational level. How many people are actually coming to that event? How much room do I have for those people? How can they get in and out, the ingress and the egress? Have we looked at the routes? Have we given them enough gates? Are the gates wide enough? Have we made all the calculations? And I realized that Tim alluded to a lot of this. And the dim ice procedure from Keith Still is an excellent way of using that as a tool to work that out. His little bit about expectations, that's a very big one for me, the expected types of activities. What are these people going to do? Are they going to sit quietly and listen to a symphony orchestra? Are they excited watching their horse racing because they're about to win $1 million, they hope? Or are they dancing up and down to a rock and roll show? Everybody has their own expectations and their own manner of behavior at the show that they come to. And that's what I have to predict when I'm planning for the event. The only way I can make the event successful and advise the client appropriately is to know what's going to happen and have a really good idea of what the way people are going to behave and what they expect to do, their cultural behavior, whether they're going to turn up early 3 or 4 days in advance, as has already been mentioned, or whether they turn up late. All these things will involve planning, staff deployment, many, many things. So we're looking at an awful lot of different ways of managing people and putting these things into place very much in advance. Once the, should we say, the disorder has started, the requirement for crowd control, I'm handing over. At that point, I'm talking to my colleagues in the police, I'm gone. My job didn't work. If I have to hand over to the crowd controller, the crowd manager's job didn't work. So it's very much about successfully planning in advance. Now, I'd just like to give a little example, if I can, please. As I say, we've arrived for the first time in Hong Kong. We've been looking around at the events industry and seeing what's happened. And I want to put a little bit of an exercise for you guys, because Tim and I have been doing all the work up until now. So we'd like some input from you, please. We thought we would give an example of planning an event in Hong Kong and get your opinions. If we were the event organizers who arrived on the plane and said, we'd like to help the local economy, we want to bring tourism and money into Hong Kong, we have an idea for an event. So we decided, because it's right next to the Hong Kong Space Museum, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with that area, we'd call it Space Down in Hong Kong. So it gave us the opportunity to deal with a lot of the local food suppliers and showcase the best food that people can get in that area. We'll put on some really great music. And because we're right next to the MTR, it's literally just a walk away, perfect for transport and travel. The ferry's coming across from the other side of the harbour. It's a perfect location. And because we have a good cooperation with our security services, with our colleagues from the police, it's going to be a very good, a safe, secure event. So you guys are happy with that idea already? You like the sound of it? Wonderful. Let's keep negotiating, shall we? I'll be the promoter, and maybe you guys are the authorities who are going to grant me my license. So I just put up a little diagram. You can see, I really thought that it's best if people come off the MTR, and most want to come. This is where the stage is. This is the event area here. So maybe we'll queue them along that the side of the road there, and then they can queue up and they can come down here into this entry system. We have entry lanes there, give up their ticket, and have a fantastic time. I've got bars, I've got food, got music. It's fabulous. It's wonderful. So I'll just give you an idea of some of the people going to put on stage. I don't know if any of these names are familiar to you. Certainly those of you who like rap music, and I'm sure I can see from the faces here that most of you are fans of rap and hip-hop music. No? Okay. So we have these amazing list of people, Jamelia, Biohazard. I know that sounds like a soap powder, but that's a band. And all these people, I'm giving them maybe 40 minutes, 3/4 of an hour each to perform. It's going to be a wonderful show, and we'll finish about 11:15. So it doesn't go through the night time. It just open it up at 6:30, finish it 11:15. Great show. I see my friend here is thinking he's got competition now for the arena. So I'm going to have to negotiate very carefully here. So I thought I'd better give you some of the safety aspects because I want to make sure that you're confident that this is going to be a good event, that we're going to be safe and we're going to operate it correctly. So did a bit of measuring. Tim and I went down in the middle of the night with our laser measuring. We decided that the footprint of the area, the size of the site is 5,000 square meters. And we know that all the guidance says if you give half a square meter per person, that's enough. There's plenty of room for people to stand around and dance and have a good time. So that means I can sell 10,000 tickets. Fantastic. And again, to cooperate with all the current guidance and regulation, got 28 meters of bars width so that I'm not going to have too long queues. No, people won't have to wait too long for their drinks. I've got some fantastic local food outlets. Again, with regulations, they say one toilet for 80 people, so I've got the right numbers there, and I've got a fully qualified medical team. So, sounding good? Oh, there's a little bit of a shaking head there, maybe, yeah. Most people, I think, going to give me the thumbs up on this one, I hope. But then this is my first event in Hong Kong, so I might not be able to get it perfect from the start, but let's see how we get on. So let's look at how people are going to come in, ingress, and this has been talked about by Tim before. We know the MTR is fantastic, the speed that it will deliver people to the event. I've heard figures of up to 3,000 patrons coming a minute. That's fantastic. I've opened the doors at 6:30, and I'm going to allow an hour to get everybody in. And with my 9 entry lanes, that gives me more than enough capacity to get the people in, get everybody, they've got a drink, they've got some food, then we start the music. It'll be a wonderful, wonderful event. Let me just show you a little bit more information there, just so we understand some of the safety side of it. You can see we have my entry lanes here, so people all coming down there. They come out of MTR, and there's also buses this side, I believe. They've come down to the entry point, had their ticket checked, in they go into this area. It's safe and secure in there. It's fenced, so nobody undesirables are going to come in. I've got bars available there and there on either side of the stage, so they get a really good view while they have their drink. If they want to make room for more drink, they can go up there to the toilet area, and there's also a good, nice big medical center. So, what do we think? Is this, you're going to give me a license to make this event? How many people would say, yes, let's do this. It's going to be great for Hong Kong. Anybody? Why not? Thank you, sir. Put your money here. Anybody say no? 1, 2, 3, 4. Why not? Isn't it going to be a great event? So forgive me, I don't know the regulations in Hong Kong, but let's say I'm applying for all the permits that I need. Would you, by the look of my event, grant it for me? I had 3 or 4 who said no. Why would you not? You want more? Okay. But I'm selling 10,000 tickets because I have enough room for 10,000. I've worked out 0.5 square meters, 2 per meter, so I know there's enough room for the people. Oh, I will certainly do a risk assessment. But in fact, my colleague Tim's probably already done one. But do we think, just looking basically, I realize you only had a few minutes. Does it sound good? Am I going in the right direction? Well, there's one down the bottom there, you see on the left-hand side, and also the entry lanes is also emergency exit. One entrance which is also exit, and an extra emergency exit so they can get out there, because I have on the left-hand. Yeah. So you don't like that? Oh, okay. My apologies. How many would you like me to make? Yeah, yes, that's right. Because I thought that. Sorry. That. What? I think I have this lady as a consultant to my company now. So, thank you very much, madam. I am. Of course, please.
It's the perfect location because actually the opening ceremony for the East Asian Game back to 2009, organized by the Hong Kong government, was hosted here. Exactly. They even extend the stage onto the waterfront by having tugboats as a backdrop onto the water. The stages around this almost same position as illustrated in your location, but of course that extent of the venue much bigger. They even extend the venue beyond to the bus terminus. So right. You pick the right location.
Well, thank you. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you. And looking at it the other night, it's a spectacular view of the harbour, and we would have been delighted to work on an event there. Unfortunately, and as my very good friend has pointed out to me, we mentioned emergency exits. Probably I was a little bit inexperienced in putting together an event for Hong Kong. And I might maybe just put up a few explanations here, because you'll see, I told you the event footprint was 5,000 square meters. It absolutely was, all the way around to the fencing. But I didn't include all the other things I'm putting in, all the structures. So a 60 by 40 stage, 26 meters times 3 of bars, 5 meters of medical accessories. So I've taken nearly half of the available room for people and filled it with structures. So if I tried to put 10,000 people into that area, they would not have fit in, and it would have been a disaster, and really not the best thing in this wonderful venue in Hong Kong. I wouldn't have made some friends with my colleagues down at the front here. I would have been probably put on the next plane and sent away from Hong Kong. So as you can see, I was asking for 10,000, and a couple of you, I think one of my friends over here already wrote the check for me to start the event. But actually, I really only had room for 4,700. So the planning is really about looking a little bit sideways, not assuming that everything you're told is always exactly the truth, or somebody may not have exactly the right experience. And so crowd management, so much of it is about knowing which questions to ask and finding out where the potential problems could be. I also said to you, excuse me, about the 9 entry lanes. We need to do a little bit more maths as well, because I suggested that they'd come in and they'd show their ticket, and most of us in the events industry would know that a flow rate is easily achievable if people just give a ticket. I can do 1,200 per hour for every entry lane, and I've got 9 entry lanes. So that means I can get my 10,000 people easily in within 1 hour when the music starts. I forgot to mention we need to check bags. That really affects the flow rate quite a lot. So I can't look at 1,200 per hour per lane anymore. It's not going to work. My friends from the arena are chuckling now because they know how long it takes. But you're lucky if you can do 300 in an hour, if you have a really good, efficient bag search. So with 9 lanes, all busy, 2,700 in 1 hour, how many people will I get in time? How long will it take me to get everybody in? I'll save you doing the maths. 3, nearly 4 hours. Oh dear, most of the music finished by the time the people came in. So I've got a problem. So looking at flow rates, looking at the ingress procedures, making sure I have not only the right procedures, but the well-trained staff. I'm saying I can do it 200 to 300 per hour. That's assuming I didn't bring volunteers who'd never done it before. I'm talking about having trained and efficient staff. So, more things to think about. And as I say, all this is trying to prevent the evacuation. I really don't want it to happen. But let's assume that we've got to the stage, something's, let's look at some of the reasons why we would do it. And I'll put a few up on the board. I'm aware that time is of the essence, so I'm not going to do Tim's whiteboard. But, for example, a medical issue, an infection, as Tim mentioned, severe weather, a power failure, all of these things could require us to clear the building, but we're not guaranteeing it's going to happen automatically. Our objective is to keep the people inside. They hear the music. They buy a T-shirt. They buy a hamburger. They buy a beer. This is a commercial organization. So we want them to be happy. We want them to go home and send a tweet to their friends about what a fantastic night I had and what a brilliant place Hong Kong is to come and see music. So I don't want to be turning people out in the street in the rain. I don't want that to happen. So we have to do our assessment. What are the reasons? What are the problems? What are the issues that are going to happen if I send all of you out through that door and down the stairs? Is it possibly better to stay here? So let's have a look at some of the reasons and let's try and examine some of the difference, the factors that would affect the way we make our decision. And the one at the bottom, what are the risks outside the venue? Am I sending you from a relatively safe environment to maybe somewhere that's more dangerous? And these are the things that I really do need to examine. And my first question is, who makes the decision? I'm talking about me as an advisor to a client. Everybody here and every event organizer and venue has their own agenda and their own reasons for either wanting the event to continue or maybe wanting it to stop. So I'll put a few up on the screen. Would it be the venue owner who says, no, enough, clear everybody out? Or maybe the venue has been hired to external promoters or an organizer who's coming to the venue. Maybe that decision-making process moves across to them. That's probably a contractual arrangement, but I don't have time for a committee meeting while we discover who is responsible. We need things to happen quickly if we're dealing with an emergency situation. Maybe the artist. How about the head of security for the event? Or could it be the policeman knocks on the door? Hey guys, you have to clear out now. Do I say, no, we've decided we're going to stay on stage? Who is making those decisions? And that's what we really need to be very clear on. Should we say the hierarchy of control, to bring a phrase up. Who is in charge? Who is a decision maker? Who has the responsibility? Who is prepared to make the decision? That's the other thing. Some people are very good at disappearing when decisions have to be made. Some people are like magicians. They can vanish. So we are looking at making sure that the responsible people are available, accessible, whether they're in a control room or on the end of a radio, so that we know we can make those decisions and make them effectively. Let's just look through a few. I've put up some examples. If we were to say a medical issue, somebody fell over, they had a serious, broke their bone or something. A crowd issue, maybe there was a problem within a dense crowd inside the venue, or potentially a technical fault. None of these, I would say, immediately say evacuate, because we may be able to just stop the music, stop the show for a little while we can fix it. Maybe our technical friends have to go and find a fuse or a screwdriver or something and get the lights back on again. It may be a temporary thing. We're not automatically going to send everybody out. Having said that, if it was a power failure, it may be too dark to operate. A lot of things that we have to consider. And my suggestion and my recommendation is that we don't wait till it happens. Our planning should have our contingencies ready. What are we going to do if there's a power failure? What are we going to do if there's a crowd collapse? How do we deal with a medical situation? And we have our written and agreed plans as part of our training of our staff and agreement with all our authorities and our agencies that we work with in partnership. I don't want to be finding out on the day that somebody forgot to write the plan about a technical failure. I'm expecting during the planning process that we've very much got that in hand. So those are maybe possibly, we don't know. I would say if there's a fire and the room is full of smoke, that's pretty much a definite. I think we're going to go. I don't know about you. I can't breathe in a smoke-filled room, so I'm gone. A severe weather, I think I have an example to show you a little bit later if I can get the technical video to work. But weather that might cause a collapse of a structure, weather that might just cause certainly an outdoor event to be impossible. It might just be so unpleasant that we've got to go. And power failure we've spoken about. Those are possibilities that we're going to be leaving. Again, those decisions have to be made by the right people who have the authority and the confidence to make those decisions, and who will also, that authority extends to the other people in their staff who work for them, all the other agencies, who will agree that decision is made. I want to have an argument in the middle of a difficult situation. If somebody in authority that has been agreed is able to make that decision, the rest of us are going to move into our evacuation mode, and that's where we're going. Now, an external incident, I can't see anything outside this room. But if somebody from the police knocks on the door and says, the building next door is burning, you guys had better go, I'm going to take their advice. And I'm going to recommend the same to you. I think we're all going to go. Follow me. The neighboring building, or it could be an external incident, we hope not, anywhere in the city of Hong Kong that could affect the resources that I have. It may be that the police officers who've been allocated to assist my event are going to be called elsewhere because there's a bigger problem somewhere else. And at that point, my event may not be able to continue as a result of the lack of resources. So we've got a lot to think about. And in most cases, we would always take the advice of the police. But if the decision maker is the venue owner or the promoter, and the police come and say, okay, guys, switch everything off, we have to go, and the promoter says, no, I'm continuing. We've got a difficult situation. I need to make sure that our planning clears up those differences before we start. So we know exactly what the chain of command is. We have it documented in our event plan, in our venue management plan, and in our emergency contingency plans. Very, very important. Now, something that Tim alluded to, that those of us who come from England, and I'm originally from London, many, many years of the good old IRA playing their games. And we grew up with it, and we got to know generally how it would be dealt with and some of the really difficult situations. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm glad to say that I don't think I'm hearing anything happening like that over here. This is a wonderful, safe place to be. But we still have to consider that if a threat were made to our event, somebody called the control room, telephoned in and said, hey, there's a device under the stage, it's going to explode in 10 minutes. is that genuine? Do we have an evaluation process that allows us to make an informed decision? And is it still the safest thing to do to send everybody out of the building? There were very many well-documented incidents in the days of the Northern Ireland IRA where they would deliberately phone in to a venue with a false alarm. Everybody would end up in the car park, and the real bomb was in a car in the car park. Much, much greater damage, greater loss of life, a terrible, terrible thing. So, as I say, we don't ever automatically assume. And I talk to a lot of people when they do their event planning. They have the list on the wall next to the telephone. So if anybody calls in, they can look, what was their voice like? Were they sounding happy? Were they sounding annoyed? Was it old? Was it young? Okay, we get all that information, now we evacuate. No. We get all the information, then we decide what we're going to do. We evaluate the information and we make an informed decision based on advice, in most cases, from our friends at the police force, if there's any other history of other people who've been doing similar things, if there are any organizations who are objecting to the event that we're putting on or the people that we've invited to our event. We don't go around automatically just sending everybody out. Not always the best thing to do. So, a lot of evaluation, a lot of discussion and pre-planning in advance. And at some point we make the decision. Got to be done. So my question to you is it the right one? And sometimes things are just not what they seem. We can use the benefit of a lot of experienced people that we generally surround ourselves with when we're running events. Great experience from our friends in the police and the emergency services. At the end of the day, somebody makes a decision based on the information they have. And I'd just like to show you a couple of examples where a decision was made. And I sometimes look back and think, did we do the right thing? So this is a concert event that was held in an arena similar to our arena in Hong Kong. This particular one was in Docklands on the eastern side of London. Not really the best area of town, but it was one of these young boy bands. So all the audience were very young girls, completely, I would say, 95% female audience, the majority between 11 and 15. Came to see these guys and scream and shout and sing and have a fantastic time. And so you have to imagine the show is about to start. The arena is full, the excitement is building, and they just bring the lights down slowly, and as the lights come down, the screams get louder, and the anticipation is unbelievable. And the band are walking towards the stage, the place is in darkness, and we are waiting for this amazing show to start. And we're waiting, and it's dark. And there's a lot of screaming. And I guess I just have to take you to a little diagram outside of where the workers, the construction workers were working on the road outside. And they managed at that point to put their drill through the power cable. And so everything went off in the arena. Every single thing, lights, power, every single thing stopped. What do we do? Maybe we evacuate. I've got 14,000 young girls screaming, and my colleagues and I are looking at each other and say, can we start this show? What's happening? No lights, no sound, no power, nothing. So decisions have to be made pretty quickly as how we're going to make this work. And we could have just opened all the doors and say, hey, everybody go outside and you'll be safe. But this is the Docklands of East London. Really not the place you would want to send your daughter by herself. And certainly not 14,000 of them. We would be concerned as to how many of them would come back alive or safe. So the decision had to be made, we keep them inside. Call the parents, say, come and collect your daughter. I forgot to tell you, this was the late 80s, so not everybody had a mobile telephone. But in the foyer of the arena, we had 3 payphones. Divide by 14,000, you can do the calculations. So we line everybody up, and 3 big lines, and we go to every bar, every pizza outlet, every ice cream stall, and we get a 10 pence piece. And we say, hey, Mary, call your dad. Get him to come and collect you. It took a long time. In the meantime, we still have no lights. We still have no power. Thankfully, the telephones were still working. But the young girls were calling mum and dad and saying, please come and pick me up. The show's over. I can't go. So in the meantime, we have to entertain 14,000 young ladies. 50 security guys and some crew. What are we going to do? Well, anybody who could sing a song or tell a joke or tell a story, we were just in the audience just keeping everybody busy. And then somebody with a loud hailer at the front gate would say, hey, car for Rosemary with mum and dad here. Rosemary, come and get in your car, go home. And it took probably as long as the concert would have taken to get everybody out. So you can imagine, this is all happening in torchlight because all the security guys have a torch, all the crew have a torch, that's the only lighting we have. And so we said, go and call your mum and dad. And so you could imagine the tearful girls, they're hysterical because the show isn't happening and they've queued up for hours and days and there's no show. Daddy, Daddy, please come and get me. So eventually they all went home, every car arrived, every young lady was safe. And so to us, well, we think the end result was pretty good. We were, there was no injuries. There was no panic. Every single one of the patrons got back to mum or dad. Some were not happy, but we thought it was a successful outcome. The one thing that we forgot was, or we just didn't realize, that one of the young girls, she called her father, and I think he worked for a newspaper in London, and she said, Daddy, Daddy, they won't let me out. You have to come and get me. So what did we see in the headlines on the newspaper the next day? They suggested that we were kidnapping the girls and we imprisoned them and we wouldn't let them go. So I can put up with that. I can live with that. We had a good, safe event and it was rescheduled and it was wonderful. But it shows that really sometimes just things are not what you expect them to be. And I guess I better look at another one where we actually did do an evacuation, just to give an example. And forgive me for telling these stories, but I'm hoping they'll be useful to you to give examples of how we behave in these situations, because many times we are not prepared. We don't know what's going to happen. I was very privileged to be appointed to look after the crowd safety and crowd management for Her Majesty's Golden Jubilee in June 2002. And those of you who may have seen it on the TV or may remember, we had concerts in the back garden of Buckingham Palace. A classical concert on the on the Saturday, then on the Sunday we had rehearsals and preparation, and on the Monday, which was a public holiday, with all the parades and the coaches and the glitter and everything, it was also a pop concert. So if you can imagine, this is the Sunday, it's the rehearsal day. We have all the pop stars rehearsing. We have all the equipment being checked. We have all the crew moving, everybody in the back garden of Buckingham Palace. We're also preparing for, after the concert, there's going to be one of the biggest firework displays that's ever been held in London. And parades and projections on buildings. It's going to be amazing. We're expecting 1.6 million people. Now, I have to try and set the scene here. When you're involved in event planning, and a lot of you will know this, for major events in a city, there's a lot of meetings. There are so many meetings. Probably every day I maybe had to go to 2 or 3 meetings. And there would be 30 or 40 people in the room: Westminster Council, Scotland Yard, Royalty Protection, Royal Household, City of Westminster, event organisers, so many people. And we're sitting in this meeting on the Sunday afternoon. It's fairly quiet. The rehearsals are going on. We're preparing for the next day. And it's one of those strange moments when every single telephone rang at the same time. Everybody's beeper or telephone rang at exactly the same time, and the message on the screen was, "Get out here now." And we ran out, and this was a hotel next to the palace, and there was smoke coming out of the roof. Oh boy. Do I want to be responsible for crowd management and Buckingham Palace is burning down? Oh boy, that's not what I signed up to. I don't think they're paying me enough. But really nobody knew how serious it was at the time, and I'm not a fireman, so thankfully I have colleagues who came along. Somebody dialed the 999 and the fire brigade turned up. And they said, "Okay, we're taking over, it's all good. No problem." And of course this is a Sunday, so there's thousands of tourists around and everything's going on. There's the fire brigade. And so the fire chief comes along, and they have, of course, a very, very secure plan for looking after the safety of Her Majesty. She's gone. No members of the royal family were anywhere near. They are taken away. So we just had everything else left. And so the fire chief says, "Okay, well, it doesn't look very serious. We're just going to take a ladder and go up on the roof, and we'll put out the fire. That's easy." And I said, "Yeah, fine, no problem. Something I think you should know just before you go up there. We've got a major concert tomorrow." He said, "Yeah, I know that." I said, "We've also got one of the biggest firework displays ever going to happen tomorrow. And on the roof of the palace is 2.5 tons of pyrotechnics that are ready to go." And so, in the immortal words, he said, "I guess we better do a risk assessment." And the decision at that point was made, okay, let's have an exclusion zone around the palace. 1/2 mile. Okay with that? Who's in charge here? So I had to evacuate everybody from the front of the palace, which is very easy to say. And that was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just when all my staff were on their shift change. They were just getting changed out of their uniform to go, and the new staff were coming in. So I had to get on the radio quickly and say, "Hey guys, can you just give us another few minutes, please? I have a little job for you." And if you can imagine, that's the sort of thing that's going to happen, which we want to happen at night time on the Monday. But I had this lot just standing around, and we had to move them away. So that's a bit difficult, especially when a city like London, a major tourist attraction, probably most of the people who've come to see Buckingham Palace, English is not their first language. So somehow I have to explain, "Sorry, sir, you need to go that way." So you can imagine, I had, I think, maybe 70 or 80 staff available, security staff, crew, just about anybody who could walk was given a job. And I'll just give you a quick idea of the area. This is the palace here, and this is an area called the Mall, and that's about 1/2 mile long. And all this area is full of people. This parkland here, Green Park, full of people, thousands of tourists. So we know that the palace itself is fine, and this is Lancaster House where, and St James's Palace where the Queen Mother was living, and Prince Charles has his little apartment there for the weekends. So that's all dealt with. I don't have to worry about that. I've just got everything else to deal with, which is all the areas of the parkland and the whole area that goes all the way up to Trafalgar Square. So it was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do, where people who don't know who I am, have no idea what I'm talking about, as most tourists would say, where is Buckingham Palace? That way. Totally the wrong way. But at least it helped to clear them away. And we just had to persuade and say, ladies and gentlemen, please. I think most people thought maybe it was a game or a TV show or something. But I ended up with that whole area completely clear of people after about half an hour. And by the time I'd walked all the way back down the well by myself, back to the palace, the fire brigade chief said, "Oh, it's okay. It was just a hairdryer. We fixed it." So, all I can say is, it was tough, but again, it was a great show. We were delighted with the way it went, and I think I can probably say, for the end result, again, no injuries as a result of that evacuation, no panic. We did have some confused tourists, really no idea what was happening. But we really felt that was a successful outcome. And I guess the last word has to go to a spokesman from the royal household, where we went to one of the debrief meetings when he said in his very posh English accent, he said, "I think you chaps should run the railways." So we were quite happy that was a successful outcome. But nobody could predict how that would happen. And I understand it was the largest peacetime evacuation ever since the Second World War in England. And we're still alive, and I didn't get sent to the tower. So I guess we were lucky in those two cases. Some people don't have that luxury. Things happen a lot quicker. In the case of that evacuation, there was no immediate risk. So I could take my time moving people away from the source of the danger. But if we might have to do it a lot faster, if there's any sort of issues, let's look at how we get that message over. And we know that people who have come to a show, if me or any of the other organizers are going to try and say, let's clear the building, let's move people away, the only person they're ever going to listen to is the one on the stage with the microphone. So if we have the cooperation of the artists, and this happens in a lot of occasions, if they are the people who say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we need to stop, can everybody please take a step back, please allow us to get the medical people in to help, people will listen to them. If I get on stage and take the microphone, they say, get off, we don't want you. Not sure how that works if we have a power cut. Do we have within our planning a contingency for the generator, for the extra supply to deal with maybe a battery-powered microphone? Is that within your plan? That really needs to be there. Sometimes if the technical problem has lost us the microphones and the speakers from the stage, maybe the house has its own PA system. What we call the voice of God can be operated from the venue. Everybody, time to go. Or would the emergency services come in? There's a lot of different ways of getting that message across to people. Do you have, if you have screens on either side, or something in there that's been prepared, you can press one button and up comes the message that says, please leave through door number 7. These are really useful tools to put into your planning. And conscious of time here, but I'd like to just show you a couple of things about, we've made that decision, we've got the message across to people. Oh, and that's my timer. Okay, so I'm aware of time. Thank you. Thanks, Tiffany. I won't be long. Our escape routes. Do we know that all those doors where we're going to send people are clear? Can people actually see them? I understand there's 2 doors here. I can only see one. The other one's round the corner there. I'm assuming it's there. Are they clearly marked? Are they illuminated? Are they lit up if it's a dark nighttime show? And really importantly, are they easily understood? People make enormous assumptions about what people will see and what people will understand. So I'd like to just finish off with a few photographs just to show you a couple of examples of where I've seen exits that maybe weren't quite so right. Now this one, for example, is hidden behind the pizza. So if I'm sending people in a hurry to get out of that gate, it's not exactly clear quite how you get there. And I want it to be unmistakable. I need people to know without any hesitation at all exactly where they have to go. And if people are, we've talked about the potential for panic. A normal evacuation, an orderly evacuation can happen if people get clear instructions from confident people and they have good, clear instruction, good, clear signage. If they're standing there going, where do I go? What do I do? What's happening? That's when we start getting panic. People have to have information, and you have to, as event organizers, have that information available and be able to distribute it clearly. Here's another one. Great big gate. Kind of obvious when you walk out the back of the arena. You'd think that's where you're going. Actually, no, because the sign says you go that way. If you go through there, you're on a really busy motorway. It's one of the busiest streets in Amsterdam. So that's not a good idea. Can you see the sign? Everything's blue. So's the sign. The creative people, bless them, they do wonderful things and make these fabulous shows, but they want the signs to match everything. I don't want the sign to match. I want to be able to see it clearly. I want to know from 100 meters away exactly what the exit sign looks like. And if it's blue like everything else, I'm not going to see it. This one was also, probably you can't see it so well, written like a chalkboard. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger there. So, but is that clear? Would I know if I want to know, get out somewhere in a hurry? And does the gate look like anything? It looks like just a fence. I don't even know there's a gate there. So let's make it clear. Well, this was a great sign. I couldn't see it, the people standing in front of it. But it says in Spanish, it says salida, which is exit. But I don't know that. I've probably run past it by now. So I need to be thinking when we build our event, and our friends with the arena don't have this problem because it's already built. But if we're building a temporary event, making something in the middle of a field, or changing the use of another building, can the exits be seen? These people on the pitch of a cricket, big major cricket ground, I can't see any signs. There's nothing there. It's not designed for people to be on the pitch. They only ever have, 22 people playing cricket, and they know how to get off the pitch. If I put 12,000 on there, I need extra signs so people can see what's going on. Here's another one. I'll spin through these quite quickly. A big stadium. Again, we put people on the pitch, have a fantastic show. Can we see the sign? I'll enlarge that a bit. There's one there. But the others say Coca-Cola. Does that mean I can't get out? Or does that mean I have to drink first? It's not clear. I need clear instructions. If I'm there, I know where to go. If I'm here, I don't know. So yeah, let's have clear signage. This one, am I going up? Am I going down? I don't know. Another one here. Let's have clear, proper signs that people can see. Don't write it on A4 paper and stick it up on the side of the screen. And this one, are we going left? Are we going right? Or are we going up? Are we going sideways? I don't know, sometimes. That's better. That's nice and clear. That's a great example of a good one. Good, clear signage. Numbers is a good one as well. Put a number on it. If somebody says leave through gate 36, there is no mistake. I know exactly where I'm going. There's another one. I'm conscious we have time here. I'm going to move past that. And just very quickly, forgive me, Tiffany, when the production team put the event together, they do a drawing. They do generally a CAD drawing, a computer drawing that shows exactly where everything is, and the team build it exactly as they see on the drawing. So this particular one, they built the site. I have a habit, I walk around before the doors open. I do my checks. I walk around the whole site. And so I know there's 4 emergency exits. I've seen it on the drawing. And I get to the first one, and oh, there's a gate, but I can't get through it because there's grass behind it. And that was one of the others. They had a metal fence behind it. So the crew said, well, we put it where you told us to put it. Don't ever assume that things are as you see them. Technology we have talked about, it's in the title. A lot of this new LED signage, brilliant. Can show you exactly where you have to go. That's a fantastic one. These can be changed within seconds from the control room. If I want to close one of those lanes, I can do it. I can move people over the left, people over the right. It's brilliant. I have to spin through this. I'm really sorry we're against time here, but yeah, bear in mind what might be outside the venue when you get there. It might not just be a beautiful, nice, clear concrete. It might be mud and all sorts of things. And just finally, I was doing a street event in Europe, and I noticed that I saw these young kids climbing over the fence, and I thought, oh, those guys are going to take some bricks and throw them at the event, because this is racing cars coming through the street, and I thought, oh, it's going to give me a big problem. And then I looked around and I realized they were actually very enterprising young kids, because it's a street event. Everybody's standing at the same height. They can't see. So 10 euros, you get somewhere to stand. 20 euros, you get a fence block as well. So, okay. Finally, if you did have to evacuate, and forgive me, we're running out of time, think about the questions people are going to ask you. The people banging on the door of the box office. Do I get my money back? Is there another show next week? What's happening? So have those questions ready, and please don't forget the media. Don't forget the press knocking on your door. What happened? Give me a statement. Who's in charge? I want a statement from you now. And if you don't operate that, then it's going to be really unfortunate. So finally, I'm grateful for our time. I guess the last comment really is the moment you think that you know everything, somebody will prove you wrong. And thank you very much for your time.